Hi, my name is Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video. I had a very interesting summer this year. I've just come back from a holiday in Paris. Wow, and I wanted to talk to you today about my experience living in Paris and share with you some of my Paris vlog. So I studied French at university, and I think French was my first foreign love. And when I was 11, during my very first French class, I knew in my heart that I would end up living there one day. And the best way to get there, of course, was to study French. And I was really good at French because I was so motivated. So yeah, I remember in my class, my friends were not into French as much as I was. And I specifically asked my teacher if I could sit on the front row. So that caused a little bit of tension with my friends, but I was so dedicated that I didn't care. So that was quite an interesting fact that I'd temporarily forgotten about. So I got excellent grades for French, and I first went to France when I was 14 years old, and it was a school trip. And I remember, I think I was the only person who went on the trip who actually paid for their own trip at 14 years old. Because I was so determined. I got a job at a local cafe for £1.90 an hour washing up. And I remember my fingers were just all wrinkled and, you know, that awful feeling of too much washing up. But I thought it was all worth it, and I had my stash of coinage, and I was able to pay for a school trip to France, and we had a day trip in Paris, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. I remember the first time I asked someone on the ferry over there what time it was in French, quelle heure est-il? And they told me the time, and they said, but in England it's an hour less. And I was like, wow, I understood that. Incredible. And everyone else was just going crazy because their parents weren't around. But for me, I was on a mission, really. And then I did French A-level, and then I went to do a French degree. I did French and European Studies, specialising in feminism. And my year abroad was one of the best experiences of my whole life. It really was. I remember when I was trying to plan my year abroad, many people became assistants in schools, or they did Erasmus, or they did a work placement. I originally wanted to go to the south of France and live in the sun, somewhere with palm trees and by the beach perhaps, and maybe do Erasmus, because that would have been an incredible experience. However, I just couldn't afford it, to be honest. I mean, my parents, I was financially independent, so to actually do Erasmus or something like that required a lot more money than studying in the UK. So I decided to go for a work placement instead, and that meant Paris. And I wasn't really enthusiastic about going to Paris at first. However, I did get the best paid work placement at my university, and that was amazing. So at first it was very difficult in Paris for a 20-year-old living on her own. I was living in a very small studio in Le Marais. But back then I didn't have any internet, there were no smartphones, so when I was alone I was really alone, whereas now I think we are all more connected. So if you're alone for the weekend, it's not such a big deal because you can always reach out to friends and family on social media. Whereas back then it was a lot more difficult, and of course making phone calls was extortionate. I had a boyfriend who lived in London, so I had massive phone bills, terrible. But what happened was, after a few months, I was working in a marketing company. So oftentimes I used to leave work on a Friday and not see anyone until the Monday. And those weekends were really, really, really hard to deal with. And one day I just thought, I need to change this. I need to really make the most of my time in Paris. And I got a magazine called FUSAC, French USA Contacts, which I think is online now. It still exists. And I found a section about language exchanges, and that's what really, really changed my life. And I signed up to a French course for foreigners, and that was on Tuesdays and Fridays after work. And I went to these classes, and they were very cheap, these classes. However, the people in the group became really good friends, and we were a group of friends from about 8 different countries, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And then from that point on, I had a great social life in Paris, and thanks to this group of friends I started to see a lot of things in it with a new light. For example, I gave up alcohol. My social life wasn't just about going to bars and discos or whatever. It was, we used to hire bikes and have excursions on the weekend and learn salsa. We're just very curious about doing different things all the time, whereas I think when I was back in the UK it was just, let's see how drunk you can get this weekend. So for me, Paris really opened my mind to new things. And back then, of course, I've always been a vegetarian, and I was made to feel like a real weirdo as a vegetarian. But I did actually, I think I was the fattest I've ever been in my life. Not the heaviest, I'm the heaviest now, but I'm not, I don't have as much body fat as I did when I was in Paris. And that was all because of that amazing, all that bread and croissant and pain au chocolat. I used to go running in the morning in Place des Vosges in Le Marais. But then I used to walk past this boulangerie and I was like, I can't resist it. And then I used to spend the whole day in my office sitting down. So it wasn't very good for my physical health, Paris, but for my mental health, my emotional health, it was absolutely incredible. But now going back to Paris was very nostalgique. I stayed in Le Marais in a hotel called Jeanne d'Arc. And I've heard about this hotel for many years. I know the teachers at my university used to always try and stay there, and it used to be full a lot of the time. So I knew it was going to be a popular and cozy and nostalgic stay, and I absolutely loved it. It was very quaint, and yeah, it took me back. And I was even thinking, wow, I'd actually love to spend a bit more time in Paris. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it actually. And yeah, as a vegan in Paris was absolutely amazing, which was very surprising to me after feeling like such a freak for not having French cheeses or meat when I was living there. I mean, cheese, yes, as an ovo-lacto vegetarian, I could have cheese, but I didn't like that smelly sock thing, you know. Just walk past this fromagerie like, oh my God, someone has forgotten to change their socks in a long time. That type of cheese never did it for me. So now I was pleasantly surprised to see that I could eat some delicious things in Paris. And thanks to the app Happy Cow, I put the vegan filter on, and there were so many places that are vegan only, which is always great to know that there are no animal products in the kitchens that are preparing my food. That was amazing, very surprising. And what else about Paris? Yeah, going on the train was amazing. So I actually got to avoid public transport, but I'm definitely thinking about going back and spending a bit more time there, because fortunately I am location independent, so I can work from anywhere. So I'm thinking it would be nice to go there and write some articles and be very inspired. So there you have my experience in Paris this summer, and if you're curious about Paris, I hope this motivates you to go there.
Our train is about to leave. Please mind the doors.
god, Rue des Tournelles. This is where I used to live. Let's go to number 10. I put lots of weight on because I was working in an office. I was sitting down all day in front of a computer. So I tried to go jogging in the morning to try and just get some exercise. But then after my daily jog in the morning, I used to go past this patisserie, and it had the most amazing pain au chocolat. So I used to smell this warm chocolate coming fresh out of the oven, and I just could not resist. So all of the hard work running was just, well, put to waste, really. And here we are in Place des Vosges. Wow, memories. And now let's go to my hotel, Jeanne d'Arc, which is Joan of Arc. That's so girl power. Wow, how cute is my hotel room? So cute. Wow. Check out the phone. Way cooler than iPhone. And here we have La Pièce de Résistance. The Parisian view. Oh wow, so nostalgic. And the bathroom. Très bien. Hello from my Parisian hotel room. I'm so excited to be here. So excited. And I'm also in Paris to meet some friends from uni, so it's really going back to the past, of my past. The roads I used to walk down, my friends who are still friends today, so très nostalgique. Yeah, now I'm vegan for the first time in Paris, and I've heard that it's really good, so I am starving, so I'm going to check out the vegan offering. Wow, Hank vegan pizza. It's a road full of cars. And let's see if it's changed. Thanks for watching and see you next video.